The lights were bright. The crowd was loud. The MMA cage stood in the middle of the arena like a steel monster. Everyone was waiting for the next fight. But when Aaliyah walked into the cage, people didn't cheer. They laughed. "She doesn't belong here," one man shouted. "Send her back to the kitchen." Another voice from the crowd screamed. Even the announcer paused for a second when he saw her. Aaliyah was the only woman on the fight card tonight. Her opponent, Raiden, was already in the cage, smirking. He was tall, strong, and full of confidence. He had won 3 fights this year, each by knockout. But Aaliyah didn't look scared. She walked in with calm eyes and quiet steps. She wore no fancy gear, no flashy hairstyle, no makeup. Just focus. Her hands were wrapped in plain white tape. Her gloves were tight. Her heart was steady. The cage door closed with a loud metal sound. Raiden pointed at her and laughed. "This is a joke, right?" he said loud enough for the cameras to hear. 15 seconds. That's all I need." The referee gave the usual instructions. Aaliyah nodded once. Raiden didn't even look at the ref. His eyes were only on her. "Try not to cry when I hit you," he whispered. The bell rang. The clock started. Round 1. The fight had begun. Raiden charged forward like a bull, fast and strong. The crowd screamed. People stood up. Everyone expected a quick and painful end for Aaliyah, but she didn't move. She waited. Raiden threw the first punch, wild and powerful. She ducked. In one smooth motion, Aaliyah spun to the side, dodged his punch, and landed a sharp elbow to his jaw. Thud. Raiden's eyes widened. His legs shook. Before he could step back, Aaliyah stepped forward and delivered a clean right hook. Crack, Raiden fell. Just like that. The arena went silent. No one moved. No one clapped. Even the referee hesitated for a second, not believing what he just saw. Raiden was on the ground, unconscious. His eyes rolled back. His body was stiff. The time on the screen read 0:15 seconds, the same number he had joked about, the same number that now echoed in everyone's mind. 15 seconds. And it was over. Aaliyah didn't raise her hands. She didn't smile. She didn't jump or scream. She just stood there looking at the silent crowd. Her face was calm. Her eyes were full of something deeper than victory, pain, strength, and years of silence. She turned her head toward the crowd. The same people who laughed at her just minutes ago now stared with open mouths. The referee raised her hand. "Winner, Aaliyah by knockout." Some clapped. Some still looked shocked. A few recorded the moment on their phones. The cameras moved closer, trying to catch her reaction. But Aaliyah didn't speak. She stepped out of the cage slowly, like she had just finished another training session. Behind her, Raiden was being checked. By the medical team, he hadn't even touched her once. Outside the cage, reporters rushed forward. "Who is she? Where did she come from? Is she even trained?" But Aaliyah didn't answer anyone. She kept walking, step by step, no tears, no joy, just quiet power. Backstage, a young girl stood with her father. The girl looked at Aaliyah with wide eyes. "She's a girl like me?" the child whispered. Aaliyah heard it. She smiled softly for the first time that night, and then she walked past them, her story just beginning. Because what the world saw in those 15 seconds was only the end of one fight. The real story started much earlier, before the lights, before the cameras, before the laughs, before she became the girl who silenced the cage, before the lights, before the cage, before the crowd fell silent. There was just a girl, a simple girl with bruised knuckles and fire in her heart. Her name was Aaliyah, and she had been fighting long before anyone knew her name. She grew up in a small town, dusty roads, broken houses, people who didn't dream big. Her father worked at a factory, her mother cleaned homes. Life was hard. Money was tight. Aaliyah was only 10 years old when she first got into a fight. Not in a ring, not in a gym, but in the schoolyard. A group of boys had pushed her little brother to the ground. He cried, holding his scraped knee. Aaliyah didn't think. She just ran in. She pushed the biggest boy and punched another. The boys didn't expect it. A girl fighting back. They laughed until she made them bleed. That day she got in trouble. The teacher called her parents. Her father was angry. Her mother was silent. But that night, when no one was watching, her mother brought her a bowl of ice water for her bruised hands. She didn't say much, just sat beside her and held her hand gently. From that day, Aaliyah understood something. No one was coming to save her. If she wanted to protect her family, she had to become strong. Very strong. At 13, she started sneaking into a local boxing gym. She stood outside for hours, watching the boys train. She memorized their moves. She copied their punches in secret, at home, in the backyard, in the mirror. One day, she walked into the gym. The trainer, a thick-bearded man, laughed when he saw her. "We don't train girls," he said. "Try dancing class instead." She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She left quietly, but returned every night, standing, outside watching. She didn't stop. For months, she trained by herself. Old tires for footwork, a hanging rice sack for punches, a broken mirror for shadowboxing. She watched fights on an old phone, paused, replayed, learned. She didn't have gloves, so she wrapped her hands with cloth. After every session, her knuckles were red and swollen. Her mother saw the bruises but never said anything. One night, her father found her training. He was furious. He shouted, broke the rice sack, and told her to stop this nonsense. "Girls don't fight," he yelled. She cried that night, but not because of pain. She cried because the world had already decided what she couldn't do, without even giving her a chance. At 16, she heard about a secret underground club where young fighters trained. No rules, no limits, just fists and heart. She went there wearing a hoodie, said her name was Allie. They didn't know she was a girl. She fought boys, older ones, stronger ones, and she won, again and again. One day, after a fight, her hood slipped off. Her hair fell out. The room went quiet. "You're a girl?" one fighter said, stunned. She stared at them, her nose bleeding, her fists raised. "Does it matter?" she asked. No one answered. From that day, they didn't call her a girl anymore. They called her Fistfire. Years passed. She kept fighting, training, working part-time jobs to buy gloves and shoes. Still no coach, still no support. But her focus never broke. She didn't fight for attention. She didn't post videos. She didn't care about likes or followers. She fought for something else. Respect. One evening, after a long day, she sat alone outside a closed gym. Her hands ached. Her face had fresh cuts. An old man walked by. He stopped, watching her punch the air. "You hit like you've been hit before," he said. She looked up. "Who are you?" she asked. "Someone who used to fight." The man smiled. "Name's Kareem." That was the day everything changed. Kareem was different. He didn't talk much. He didn't brag. But the way he moved, the way he watched, Aaliyah knew he had seen real fights. Not the kind with lights and cameras, but the kind where every punch had meaning. "You want to be a fighter?" he asked her. Aaliyah nodded. Kareem looked at her hands, swollen, cut, and wrapped in thin cloth. "You already are." From that day, Kareem became her teacher. But not in the way most coaches train. He didn't ask her to punch heavy bags or lift weights first. He made her run. Every morning, through streets, alleys, and fields. "Fighting is not just strength," he said. "It's breathing. It's balance. It's pain you don't show." Aaliyah ran until her legs burned. She trained until her skin peeled. And through it all, Kareem never praised her, not once. But he never left her side either. One day, she asked him, "Why are you helping me?" Kareem looked at the sky and said softly, "Because once I trained a fighter who could have been great, but he gave up. He was scared of pain." "You're not," Aliyah understood. Kareem saw her not as a girl, but as a warrior in progress. Weeks passed, then months. She trained in silence, no crowd, no cheers, just the sound of gloves hitting pads and feet sliding on the floor. She didn't complain, even when her nose bled, even when her ribs hurt, even when her knuckles cracked. Pain became normal. Silence became her shield. One evening, Kareem brought her a gift, a real pair of gloves. "They're not new," he said, "but they've seen war." Aliyah took them, with care. She didn't smile, but her eyes spoke. It was the first time someone believed in her enough to give her real tools. Soon, Kareem started taking her to small local matches. No big names, no big money, just raw fights. The crowd was always surprised when they saw her walk in. "She's too small. She's a girl. Is this a joke?" But by the end of every fight, the laughter was gone. She didn't win with showy moves. She won with focus, with heart. She fought like someone who had nothing left to lose. One night after a tough win, a promoter walked up to Kareem. "That girl," he said, pointing to Aliyah. "She's got something. I want to book her for a pro fight." Kareem paused, then looked at Aliyah. "You ready for the real world?" he asked. Aliyah tightened her gloves and replied, "I've been living in the real world my whole life." The pro fight was set, but when they announced her name on the fight poster, the internet exploded. "A girl in the cage? This is embarrassing for the sport. She won't last one round." Thousands of comments, most of them cruel, most from people who had never thrown a punch. Aliyah didn't respond. She trained harder. Kareem warned her, "They'll try to break you before the fight even begins." But Aliyah wasn't new to being broken. She had been broken 100 times and stood up 101. The day of the fight arrived. Derek Johnson didn't know it yet, but someone was digging into his past. Back in that polished boardroom, the men who wanted to stop the Hope Tech Center had grown desperate. They had tried fear. They had tried delays. Nothing worked. The community now stood with Derek, and he was winning hearts fast. So now they turned to character assassination. One of the men, a tech investor named Carl Benson, made a call to an old contact, a private investigator known for getting dirt on anyone. "I want everything on Derek Johnson," Carl said coldly. "Old school files, juvenile records, family history. I don't care how far back you go. Dig until something dirty shows up." The investigator nodded. Everyone has something they want to hide. Meanwhile, Derek was finally seeing his dream come to life. Hope Tech's walls were up. The classrooms were almost finished. Bright murals of computers, books, and bold quotes decorated the inside. Students came every day to volunteer, painting, sweeping, even building desks. "Feels like we're building a future," said a young boy named Malik. "You are," Derek said with a smile. Outside, reporters came and went. People donated. Laptops, books, and chairs. It was everything Derek had dreamed of. But deep inside, a shadow of worry sat quietly in his heart. He had come so far, but he had also lived a life full of pain, loss, and secrets. There were things he never talked about, things he had left behind. 3 days later, a headline exploded across the internet. Hope Tech hero or hidden hustler, CEO's dark past revealed. Derek's face was on every screen, but not with praise this time. The article claimed he had been arrested at 17 for computer fraud. It said he had hacked into a school system to change grades. It said he had been kicked out, lived on the streets, and had connections to underground activity. Most of it was twisted. Some of it was true, but not the way they told it. The story spread like wildfire. News vans showed up outside the center. Protesters appeared. Online comments went from love to hate in hours. Liar. Fake hero. Criminal in a suit. Inside the Hope Tech building, Derek sat alone in the main classroom. He stared at the article. The words hit hard, not because they surprised him, but because they reminded him of the hardest time in his life. He remembered that cold night when he had slept in a bus station, hungry and alone. He remembered trying to hack the school system, not to cheat, but to uncover why certain poor students were getting dropped from the scholarship list. He had been caught, but he had meant no harm. But the truth didn't matter now. The world had its story. Just then Tara walked in. "Derek, reporters want a statement." He stayed silent. "They're calling you a fraud," she added. "People are scared." Derek looked up slowly. His voice was low but steady. "Let them be scared. But I'm not hiding." That night, Derek held a press conference outside Hope Tech. Cameras flashed. Microphones pointed at his face. The crowd was silent as he began to speak. "Yes," he said. "I was arrested when I was 17. People murmured. I was homeless, angry, tired of watching my friends suffer. I made a mistake. I used my skills in the wrong way, but not for money, not for power. I was trying to expose something wrong. And yes, I paid the price." He paused. "But that moment, it changed me. I didn't quit. I didn't fall. I rose. I built something better. Not just for myself, but for every kid who feels like I once did." A tear ran down someone's face in the crowd. "I'm not perfect, but I'm real. And I will not stop." The crowd clapped. Some cheered. A few reporters even lowered their cameras, touched by the honesty. Still, others weren't convinced. Carl Benson, watching from his office, grinned coldly. He thinks honesty will save him? He has no idea what's coming, because the next part of their plan wasn't just about shame, it was about danger. The lights were bright, the cage was cold, and the crowd was loud. Cameras flashed, announcers shouted, music played. But Aaliyah heard none of it. Her heart beat steady. Her mind was still. This was not noise. This was focus. Raiden entered the cage first. He raised his hands and smiled. People cheered. He was their champion. He was strong, tall, fast, and full of pride. Aaliyah walked in next. No music, no smile, just her, calm and quiet. The crowd didn't cheer. Some laughed, some booed. She won't last. This is going to be quick. Why is she even here? But Kareem stood by the cage wall, watching her with quiet eyes. He wasn't nervous. He knew what was coming. The announcer shouted both names. Raiden jumped. He beat his chest. He winked at the camera. Aaliyah simply stepped forward. The referee gave the signal. The cage locked. The bell rang. Round one. Raiden rushed in, fast, loud, overconfident. He threw a heavy punch, expecting her to move back. She didn't. She stepped, sideways, just half a step, and let his punch fly past her face. Then, bam! Aaliyah's fist moved like a bullet. One punch, clean, precise, sharp. It landed under Raiden's chin. His eyes widened. His knees gave out. He collapsed, flat. The crowd went silent. The referee jumped in, waving his arms. It was over. In 15 seconds. The same number Raiden had laughed about, the same number the world had repeated again and again. But it didn't go how they expected. She wasn't the joke. She was the storm. People stood up, shocked. No one cheered yet. They were too stunned, too frozen. Raiden lay still. Medical staff rushed in. Aaliyah stepped back, breathing slowly. Kareem smiled for the first time in years. The silence broke. Slow claps, then cheers, then screams. People began shouting her name. "Aaliyah! Aaliyah! Aaliyah!" The camera showed her face. No smile. No tears. Just calm, because deep inside she wasn't surprised. She knew who she was. They were the ones who forgot. Later, in the locker room, a reporter came running in, breathless, excited. That punch, where did it come from? How did you do that? Aaliyah looked at her hands. These knuckles have been talking for years, she said. Tonight, the world finally listened. The video went viral. The internet that once mocked her now worshipped her. Memes, highlights, articles. Fastest knockout in women's MMA history. She ended the fight in 15 seconds. The girl they laughed at is now the face of the fight world. But Aaliyah didn't change. She didn't chase fame. She didn't care about interviews. She returned to the same gym, same routine, same silence, because she wasn't done. This fight wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Aaliyah had no interest in fame. After her 15-second victory, people expected her to enjoy the spotlight, but she didn't care. She returned to training with Kareem. Early mornings, long runs, silent focus. Same gym, same gloves, same quiet fire. The world talked, but Aaliyah didn't. Promoters sent offers. Sponsorships came in. TV channels wanted interviews. She ignored most of them. Kareem understood. Let them talk, he told her. You fight. But not everyone was happy. Some fighters felt angry, jealous, even insulted. How could a girl who came from nowhere take over the spotlight in just 15 seconds? One man in particular couldn't stop thinking about her. Tariq the Lion Rahman. He was big, strong, famous, known for his brutal knockouts and loud mouth. He had never lost a fight. Tariq saw Aaliyah's video over and over. She got lucky, he told reporters. One punch means nothing. When asked if he respected her, he laughed. If she steps into the cage with me, she won't last 5. 5 what? 5 seconds. Social media exploded. 5 seconds challenge began trending. Tariq posted a video. He stood next to a punching bag with Aaliyah's name written on it. She wants to fight like a man? Then let her face one. The internet divided instantly. Some laughed. Some supported her. Some told her to stay away. Aaliyah said nothing. But Kareem noticed something in her eyes. She doesn't fight to prove people wrong, he said quietly. She fights because she never had another choice. A few days later, Kareem received a call. A fight offer. Aaliyah versus Tariq. Same weight, same stage, same cage. Kareem told Aaliyah, "You don't have to do this." She looked down at her gloves. "I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for the girl I used to be. The one they all laughed at." The contract was signed. The news spread like fire. History in the making. David versus Goliath. She did 15 seconds. Can she survive 5? The hype was massive. But Aaliyah didn't train for the cameras. She trained for survival. Kareem pushed her harder than ever. She studied Tariq's moves, his style, his weaknesses. She knew he was powerful. But she also knew power without control, breaks itself. Tariq, on the other hand, trained with pride. He lifted heavy weights, made loud videos, laughed in every interview. "She won't touch me," he said. "I'll send her back to the kitchen." Every word he spoke, Aaliyah stored inside her, not as anger, but as fuel. The night before the fight, Kareem gave her an old photo. It was from her first day at the gym. She was bruised, thin, and tired. "You don't owe anyone anything," Kareem said. "Not me, not the world. But if you step into that cage tomorrow, do it with fire." Aaliyah held the photo tight, and for the first time in a long time, she smiled. Fight night arrived. The crowd was huge, cameras everywhere. It was the biggest stage she had ever seen. Tariq walked out first. Music loud, arms raised. Fans screaming. He wore golden shorts and smiled at every camera. Then Aaliyah walked in. Simple black gear. Quiet. Focused. But this time, the crowd didn't laugh. They watched. Inside the cage, Tariq pointed at her and whispered, 5 seconds. Aaliyah didn't reply. She just stared, not at the man in front of her, but at everything he represented. Arrogance, mockery, doubt. And she was ready to answer it all.